All right, so today we're diving deep into options trading.
Sounds good.
Specifically, we're going to be looking at this book, Options Trading, The Hidden Reality by Charles Cottle.
Oh, yeah, I've heard good things about this one.
Have you read it?
I have, yeah.
I think our listeners are really going to enjoy this one because this one is specifically for them.
Really?
Yeah, they're just getting started, they're beginners, and they're looking for a way to kind of get a grasp on options trading.
Nice, yeah.
What I think is really cool about this book, what do you think about this, is that he's an ex-market maker
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool.
and a trader.
Mm-hmm.
So he's coming at this from like real-life experience, not just theory.
Yeah, he's been in the trenches.
Yeah.
You know, he's seen what works and what doesn't.
Exactly. So we're going to kind of
They're firsthand.
decode all of his wisdom in this deep dive. How does that sound?
I love it.
All right. So I think by the end of this deep dive, you, our listener, are going to be able to hold your own in any conversation about options. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. So the first thing that Cottle emphasizes is setting realistic expectations. A lot of times options trading is touted as this way to get rich really quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, no,
Definitely not the case.
it's not the case.
Yeah, that's just not the reality of it.
It's not. And he's like the
It's
market.
more of a slow and steady thing, right?
It is.
Like a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. He actually says the market takes no prisoners.
Oh, wow.
It simply deletes those who do not have enough knowledge.
Ooh, that's a little scary.
It's intense, but that's his point.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Is that like
You really got to know what you're doing.
you have to understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
So he suggests that, beginners should aim for more modest returns,
Okay.
like 2 to 3% per month.
All right.
He thinks is like,
Yeah, that seems reasonable. Like a good starting point.
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get into kind of one of the meatier,
Okay.
more interesting concepts that he talks about, which is synthetics.
Yeah, this is a cool concept.
Have you heard of synthetics?
I have.
Okay, can you explain them for me?
So basically, synthetics allow traders to create positions with similar risk profiles, but using different combinations of options and the underlying assets.
Okay, so it's like,
It's like cooking.
yes. I love that you said that because I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, you can make the same dish with different ingredients.
Totally.
All right.
So
Same outcome, but
same result.
different ingredients.
Yes, different recipe. Can you give me like a simple example?
Yeah. So imagine you think a stock is going to go up.
Okay.
You could just buy the stock itself.
Right.
But you could also create what's called a synthetic long stock position using options.
Okay.
This would mean buying a call option and selling a put option with the same strike price and expiration date. So it's like owning the stock, but
Yeah, you're kind of doing the same thing through different means.
exactly.
Right.
So that's like the
Okay.
essence of synthetics.
Same end goal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So then he talks about position dissection, which seems to go
Yes, this
hand in hand with synthetics.
It is.
What is position dissection?
So position dissection is about breaking down a complex options trade into its simpler components.
Okay.
It helps you understand the true nature of the risk you're taking and the potential reward.
So it's like taking inventory of your position.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
So he recommends a method called the T account, where you list your options positions and your underlying holdings.
Mm-hmm.
Then you calculate your net call contracts and your net put contracts.
Gotcha.
This gives you a clear picture of your overall market exposure.
So you're kind of seeing what you're exposed to.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
He also dives into conversions and reversals, which are specific types of synthetic positions.
Mm-hmm.
What are those?
So a conversion involves buying the underlying stock, buying a put option, and selling a call option,
Okay.
all with the same strike price and expiration date.
Okay.
A reversal is basically the opposite.
Okay.
You sell a stock short, sell a put, and buy a call.
So why are these
So it's like,
important?
yeah, why are they important? Because they illustrate a key concept called put-call parity.
Okay.
Put-call parity basically states that there's a fixed relationship between the price of a call option, a put option, the underlying stock, and the risk-free interest rate.
So there's like a mathematical equation.
Yes, it's like a mathematical equation that governs options pricing.
So by understanding these conversions and reversals,
Exactly.
you're starting to see how all the pieces of the puzzle kind of fit together.
Yeah, it's like a puzzle.
Yeah, it's like a secret decoder ring for the options market.
Exactly.
So we're starting to crack the code here.
I love it.
Yeah. So I think this is a really good foundation for us to
Yes, definitely.
move on to some more in-depth concepts next time. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right.
All right.
All right. So I think we left off talking about conversions and reversals,
We did, yeah.
but, those are kind of advanced.
Mm-hmm.
We need to back up a little bit
Yeah, that's a good point.
and talk about what a lot of people consider kind of the scariest part.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
What?
The Greeks.
The Greeks, right.
Yeah.
But they don't have to be scary
No, not at all.
once you understand them.
Right. They just look scary.
Yeah, they look like Greek letters.
Yeah.
But what they really are measures of risk.
Exactly. They tell us how sensitive an options price is to various market factors.
Okay, so let's just go through them
Yeah, let's break them down.
one by one so people can understand
Yeah.
what each one means.
Okay, so first up, we have delta.
Okay, delta.
And delta measures how much an options price is expected to change for every 1-point move in the underlying asset's price.
So it's like how much
Yeah.
the option price will move.
Yeah, if the stock goes up,
Okay,
how much will the option price go up?
gotcha. Okay.
So, for example, if a stock goes up by $1 and a call option on that stock has a delta of 0.5,
Okay.
the option price will go up by 50 cents.
So it's like a ratio.
Exactly, it's like a ratio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, next we have gamma.
Okay, gamma.
So gamma measures how quickly delta itself changes.
Oh. all
So
right.
think of delta as speed and gamma as acceleration.
Okay, I like that
Yeah.
analogy.
Right, so a high gamma means that delta will change rapidly as the stock price moves.
So if a stock is really volatile,
Exactly.
it's going to have a higher gamma.
It will have a higher gamma.
Okay.
And this can amplify both profits and losses, which can be
Ooh, double-edged sword.
exactly double-edged sword.
Okay.
Right, next up we have theta.
Theta.
Theta represents the rate at which an option's value decays over time.
Ooh, this is that scary one.
It is a bit scary.
Time decay.
Time decay.
So as an option gets closer and closer to its expiration date,
Mm-hmm.
it's losing value every day.
That's right.
Okay.
And theta tells you how much value you're losing each day.
Gotcha.
So time is literally money when it comes to options.
Literally money.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Theta. All right. And then the last one is Vega.
Vega, yes.
What is Vega?
So Vega measures an option's sensitivity to changes in implied volatility.
Okay, so implied volatility.
Implied volatility.
For people who don't know, what is that?
Basically, it's the market's expectation of how much an asset's price will fluctuate in the future.
So if the market thinks that a stock is going to move around a lot.
Yeah, like if there's a lot of uncertainty,
Exactly.
then the implied volatility will be high.
It will be high.
Okay.
And if the market thinks the stock price will stay pretty stable,
Implied volatility will be low.
implied volatility will be low.
Gotcha, okay. Right.
So Vega is telling us.
How sensitive the option price is to changes in that implied volatility.
Gotcha. So if Vega is high,
Then the options price will move a lot
Ulthon.
as implied volatility changes.
Yeah, okay, wow. So how do these all work together?
So let's imagine you own a call option with a high delta
Okay.
and a high gamma.
High delta, high gamma. Okay.
If the underlying stock price starts to rise rapidly, your option will gain value very quickly due to that high delta.
Okay.
And because gamma is also high, delta will increase even further as the stock price goes up, leading to even larger gains.
Wow. So it's like a snowball effect.
Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
a snowball effect.
Okay.
But on the flip side, if the stock price falls, your losses can accelerate as well.
So again, double-edged sword.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So understanding the Greeks can really help you predict how your options price will react in different market conditions.
Wow, that's a lot to take in, but
It is.
it's super important.
It's essential.
Okay, so now let's move on to something else that Cottle talks about that I think a lot of people don't fully understand, which is early exercise.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because it seems really straightforward.
Right, you would think, but
They're
it's not.
always that simple.
Right.
Yeah, there are nuances.
Okay, so what are some of the things that we should consider?
So things like dividends, interest rates,
Okay.
and what's called the cost of carry.
Okay, cost of carry. Now, what is that?
So cost of carry basically refers to the expenses associated with holding a position.
Okay.
So, for example, the interest you pay on borrowed money,
Right.
or the opportunity cost of tying up your capital.
Gotcha.
So, if you exercise an option early,
Mm-hmm.
you might incur some of these costs.
Okay.
So, for example, let's say you own a call option that's deep in the money,
Okay, deep in the money meaning?
meaning the stock price is well above the strike price.
Gotcha, okay.
You might be tempted to exercise early and buy the stock, right?
Right, because you're like, oh, I'm making money. That's just do it.
But if interest rates are high,
Okay.
the cost of carrying that stock position until the option's expiration date
Yeah, got it.
might outweigh the benefit of exercising early.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So I actually be better to just
It might be more profitable to just sell the option.
sell the option, just let it ride.
Yeah, rather than exercise it.
Wow.
So you got to consider all those angles.
So many different factors to think about.
There are.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, it's not just black and white.
I'm starting to get a headache.
I know, it's a lot, right?
It is.
Okay, so maybe we can switch gears a little bit.
Yeah, let's move on to something a little bit lighter.
Yeah, something a little bit more fun,
Yeah, more fun, more exciting.
more exciting. Okay.
Like option strategies.
Yes, option strategies. Let's do it.
Because this is where
This is where the rubber meets the road.
it's where it all comes together.
Okay, so let's start with, I think, what everybody considers kind of the first strategy that they learn about, which is the covered call.
Yes, the covered call, a classic.
The covered call.
All right, so a covered call involves owning 100 shares of the underlying stock
Okay.
and simultaneously selling call options against those shares.
Okay.
You're like renting out your stock.
Printing out your stocks.
And the premium you receive for selling the call option is like the rent payment.
Okay, so you're getting paid to hold a stock that you already own.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, it can be a great way to generate income,
Okay.
but there is a trade-off.
Okay, what's the trade-off?
So by selling those calls, you limit your potential profit if the stock price goes up significantly.
Oh, okay.
If the stock price is above the strike price at expiration, your shares will be called away.
So you might miss out on some of those big gains.
You might.
Okay, so it's a good strategy if you're...
Yeah, if you're kind of cautiously bullish on a stock.
Okay, cautiously bullish.
Yeah.
And you're okay with maybe
Yeah, and you're happy to collect that premium.
getting some income.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, what else? What other strategies should we talk about?
Well, there's so many.
There are.
But I know a lot of people are curious about strangles and straddles.
Oh, yeah, those are popular.
So how about those?
All right, so these strategies involve buying or selling both a call option and a put option with the same expiration date, but different strike prices.
Okay, so remind me what a strangle is.
Okay, so a strangle involves buying or selling an out-of-the-money call option
Out of the money.
and an out-of-the-money put option.
Gotcha. So you're betting that the stock is going to move.
Exactly. You're betting that the stock will make a big move in either direction.
But you're not sure which direction.
Right, you're not sure which way.
No.
And then a straddle, on the other hand, involves buying or selling an at-the-money call option
At the money, okay.
and an at-the-money put option.
Okay.
So this is a bet on high volatility.
So you think it's going to move.
Yeah, you think it's going to make a big move.
But again, you're not sure which way.
Exactly.
Okay.
You just think it's going to move a lot.
And you're going to profit no matter which way it goes.
Yeah, if it moves enough.
If it moves enough, okay.
And Cottle mentions a technique called gamma scalping that can be used with these strategies.
Oh yeah, gamma scalping. I've heard of that.
It's a bit more advanced.
It sounds scary.
It can be.
Okay. But basically what it is you're kind of like fine-tuning your position.
Right. You're buying or selling shares of the underlying stock to offset changes in delta as the stock price fluctuates.
So it's a way to kind of like
Yeah, to manage your risk.
manage your risk and maybe profit from...
And potentially profit from smaller price movements.
Wow, that's really interesting.
It is.
Okay, so what other strategies should we talk about? Okay, so last time we left off talking about gamma scalping and some of these more advanced strategies.
Yeah, those can be a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
Especially for beginners.
Definitely. But there's one more thing that Cottle talks about that I think is really important for anyone who wants to trade options, and that's trading psychology.
Oh, yeah. That's huge.
Right, because it's not just about the numbers.
It's about managing your emotions.
Exactly.
And your mindset.
Because if you let your emotions get the better of you,
Oh, you can make some really bad decisions.
you can blow up your account.
Absolutely.
So he has this framework that he calls Rule the Beast.
I love that name.
Yeah, it's pretty catchy.
It is.
So what is Rule the Beast? How do we actually tame that inner beast?
Well, it's all about having a structured approach to trading.
Okay.
So before you even think about placing a trade,
Mm-hmm.
you got to determine your strategy.
Okay, so like, am I bullish?
Exactly. Are you bullish, bearish, or neutral?
Okay.
Then you got to set your entry point.
Okay, at what price?
At what price level do you want to enter the trade?
Gotcha.
And then you got to determine your profit and loss objectives.
Okay, so how much am I willing to risk?
Exactly. Based on your risk tolerance.
Got it.
Only then do you enter the market.
So it's all about planning.
Planning is key.
Okay, but what happens after you've entered the trade?
Well, that's where the ongoing assessment comes in.
Okay.
You constantly reassess your position at current price levels.
So you're not just like setting it and forgetting it?
No, you got to stay engaged.
Okay.
And ask yourself, Would I execute the same trade now if I weren't already in the market?
Oh, that's a good question.
Right.
It forces you to be objective.
Exactly. It helps you avoid getting emotionally attached to a losing trade.
Okay, so if the answer is no.
Then it might be time to exit or adjust the position.
Okay.
And if you do adjust, treat it like a brand new trade.
So you're hitting the reset button.
Exactly.
You're constantly adapting.
To the changing market conditions.
Okay, I like that.
But what if you're holding a losing trade?
Oh, that's the hardest part.
It is.
That's so hard to let go.
It is, but sometimes the best thing to do is cut your losses and move on. Oh, I hate doing that.
I know, it's painful.
But it's probably the right thing to do.
It usually is.
Okay, so it seems like Rule the Beast is all about discipline.
Discipline and emotional control.
Yeah, staying in control.
Exactly.
Wow, this has been a really
A lot of information.
eye-opening deep dive.
Can.
I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too.
And I think our listeners will too.
I hope so.
So, to kind of recap,
Yeah.
we talked about setting realistic expectations, understanding the Greeks, exploring different options strategies, and managing risk effectively.
And most importantly, ruling the beast.
Yes, ruling the beast.
That's key.
So if you're just starting out in options trading,
Take it slow.
yeah, take it slow.
Don't get overwhelmed.
And remember, practice makes perfect.
Absolutely.
All right, so thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
See you next time.
See ya.